Welcome everyone back to another school year, and we're starting out right away. Welcome to the 2017 series of the New Hampshire Google Educator Group YouTube live events. We're starting out back again. Myself, I'm Jennifer Loughton, and I'm now coming in from Londonderry together with my awesome co-host down there, Craig Shield. There's Craig.
Hi everyone. Welcome back to another good school year.
Coming in from Bedford.
That's right.
And we also have with us today Gail Rogers.
Hi there.
And Gail is the and puts up with me about it. About some updates coming back into the school year that'll be very helpful. We have a great lineup coming up this year. Starting in October, we're going to have Eric Kurtz coming in from Control Alt Achieve. I love Eric Kurtz. He has just awesome resources, just a great resource to follow, to connect with, and we're so very fortunate. And thank you, Craig, for reaching out to him. And so we're excited about having him next time. Definitely tune in for that one next time, and we'll be putting out the others very soon. About that I found very exciting working with, especially myself working with staff that are new to classroom. These are just great things right off the bat to show them some of the updates with Google Classroom. We'll talk a little bit about Team Drive and some other things that Craig wants to share that are very exciting as well. So here we go. We'll start out with Classroom, and I am going to share my screen. And I'm going to flip between both student view and teacher view. So I'm going to go right here. And Craig, you can see my screen, correct?
Yeah, you are good to go.
Okay, so the first thing that when I was working with teachers going into classroom, they're new, they're asking about, Jen, can I invite a co-teacher? And I want that co-teacher to be able to do everything like I can. They can post assignments. I said, absolutely. And if you haven't done before, to invite a co-teacher, you go in classroom to the About area, and then you scroll down, and you will see down here the button Invite Teachers, and you just type in the name of that teacher, put in a message, and hit invite. They either will get the invite in their email, or it will show up on the home screen for Classroom as a new tile asking them to accept or decline. Now, that's great because when they post something, it shows their name. When you post something, it shows your name, and it works really well. But one thing that they've added this year is you also can make someone the class owner, because maybe you are moving on and that person's now taking over that class, or they're going to be the representative for that subject, someone's retiring, all the different reasons why. You can actually now make that teacher the owner of that resource, of that class. So that's a nice little exciting feature. And again, that's the 3 dots and make class owner. So I'm just going to check something right here. Okay, so again, you go to the About area, find that co-teacher, the 3 dots, and choose Make the Class Owner. Okay, so that's one new feature. In the student side, there's some interesting things. Right when they come into a class, they get these little icons. And can you see that, Craig, that I've switched over to student view?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I'm in as a student right now.
And can I add one other thing? For people who know that you're definitely a student for a particular class, notice that each of those classes that Jen shows right now is a picture of or a silhouette, meaning that they're a student for somebody else's classes. Whereas if you own your own Google class as a teacher, you actually don't see your own picture there. So that's a great way for me to know that actually Jen was in the student account, because she sees all pictures there.
Thank you. I'm so visual, and I love little visual things like that. And I work a lot with teachers, and I let them know when they're creating their classrooms, make things visual for yourself, because we have so much we're going through, such as you can color code, the squares, your tiles, so that when you come in visually, I know which one's which instantly, but also just little things like that, little visual cues. I'm always looking for those. So when I'm going into, as a student, there's some nice little icons down here. One is you can open all your work for a specific class, and that little icon is right there, and I love that. So for students, they can also move the order of their classes, which is really nice. So you can, for instance, I want this one to be the beginning class. I can move them over. I can move them next to each other. So that's one nice little feature. You can move the order of your classroom, both students and teachers, from the home view of classes. But I can also go right here, and let me see, I'm going to go to this one, and I can see any work that I have due. And this is just, of course, a training class that I have. As you can see, not super creative in my training names. So this is all the work that I have due, and I can come over here and I can filter to what's been assigned, what's been returned to me, and what I'm missing. So just a nice one-place organizational view for students to see exactly what they need to focus on from each class. The same is true for if I go into staff view. There's some nice views over here. I can come in and I can look and see things that I need to do or I'm working on by class. So I can come right here and I can see things that I need to do by each class. Oh, I clicked out of it. Sorry. Let me go back over here. And I can go in, and there's a view I can go. And let me think of some other things that I wanted to show, such as I can move my class, the order of my class on my tile as the teacher. So right here you can see, as he mentioned, I don't see my little icon anymore. So I know these are the classes I'm teaching, and I can move my tiles to whatever order I want them to be. So I can choose this one and I can move it to be the first and so forth. So those are some nice new features as well. Some of the features that I love right off the bat is when I was doing training. I'm going to go to this one right here. You ever have when you need to share the code to join a class? And this class is one that I can show. Before, you would try to, zoom way in on that tiny code or paste it. But now if you drop down, there's this nice feature called display, where you can get that code nice and big. And if it's still not big enough for any reason, you actually can go full screen and you can get that code as big as you need to. And then you can get out of full screen either here or up here. And I'm going to just click right there to get out of there. So
no
that's
excuses anymore not knowing what the code is.
I know, make it so visual, and I love it. I like that it's just bright with the color, so you can see it's just very clear and concise. So it's so much easier to share with the students now. But you also can come over here and you can copy it easily. Before, I used to try to select it, and depending on the view I was in, it was hard to select. Well, now instantly you can click copy to paste it into an email, a syllabus, anything like that. And of course, it still has where, not right there, where you can reset your code if you would like to and disable the code. So those are a couple of things right there. But the display feature where you can see nice and big now that code to share it with your students, I think is a great addition that they put in there. Let me see. Let me go in to another classroom. We'll go to this one. And some other things that you're able to do. Let me grab an assignment here.
You're going to show the points piece?
Yes. So I can switch assignments now. So do you want to talk about this a little bit, Craig? And I'll just.
So let's say you want to say it's out of, I don't know, you could say 100 points or 10 points. So up at the top, yeah, go ahead and just indicate what you want the whole thing to be out of total. Okay. And then as Jen goes through, so let's say educator 11, let's say Jen assessed that one already. You now have the ability to say that it's 9.5 or 7.5, or you're allowed decimal points now, whereas before it was all whole numbers where there was no decimal in there. So that's a new feature. I know a lot of math teachers and science teachers tend to be more particular in terms of the points and how they're awarding things, and sometimes you need that 0.5. You now have the ability to do that in Google Classroom.
A couple of other things I want to point out too, because this has been there, but I don't think everyone has noticed in the past. I'm going to go here and I'm going to create an assignment. There's a couple of things that you can do because we're always talking about differentiating and how do we differentiate. And so one thing that I was talking to one of the groups was, when you have an assignment and sometimes you make modifications for certain students, either because of IEP accommodations or because it best fits their needs. In Google Classroom, here's some cool things that you can do. One, when you create the assignment first time, so first round of creating an assignment. You can actually come up here to all students and you can choose the exact students that you want to assign this to. So I can assign this to the students the way it is, the way that I want right now that fits for those students, and I can send this out and I can hit assign. But another thing that's very cool that I don't think is always realized is you can come down here to this reuse post button that's been there. But what's very cool is you can come back and reuse an assignment that's already in this. So I've already assigned that one assignment for that group. That's great the way it is. And I actually did it right here. So I assigned the Google Drawing Challenge to one group the way it was because for those students it fit. But then I came back and I clicked and I chose reuse because I modified the assignment in the same classroom for specific students. And see if it'll come up because now it's freezing on me. Come back, come back. I modified that same assignment, and what I did was I changed it out just a little bit for those students that really needed the modification. So I was able to take the assignment and post it for the one group the way it was that fit for their needs. Then I reused the same assignment within the same classroom, changing it out to meet the needs of whether it's due to IEP accommodations or content variants or whatever it is. I reused it, I changed it out for them and assigned it to the next group of students. So basically that same assignment I had in there 3 times, the same assignment, and I'm gonna see if it'll come up this time. Here we go. You can see right here, I have it 3 times because each one I changed just a little bit to meet the needs of a different group of students. So that's just one feature that's kind of been in there. It's just a different twist on how you can use it. And so I wanted to mention that because we work a lot on how to differentiate and best meet the needs of the students. And this is a feature that's been in there. It's just a different way of thinking about how to use it. Oh, and I do suggest when you do reuse assignments across other classes or between classes to create new copies of all attachments, if it's within the same classroom, you really don't have to, but you can. So I did want to mention that. Is there something else, Craig, that you want to jump in?
I think, what was it? The waffle. Do you want to tell them about the waffle?
So the other thing that is really nice is in the past, I would always get, Jen, I can't find the icon to Classroom. I can't find the icon to Classroom. And I would tell them, well, just go to classroom.google.com because the link is the same. But now, correct. Very cool. And this also is a helpful tip for remember, am I in my personal account or my school account? And that now when you go to, whether you call it the waffle, Hollywood Squares, whatever you're calling the icon up here of the Google Apps, Classroom now is one of the icons. So you can actually have this Classroom and you can actually adjust this icon to exactly where you want it to go. And because it's something I use a lot, I have it near the top. But you can, move these icons around to be where you use them. So like you might use YouTube more than you use Meet or things like that. So you can actually customize and put the Classroom or the other app icons where you want them on the waffle. And that is there. And that's also a nice little view if you can't remember, am I in my personal account? I had someone the other day who was like, Jen, I don't see the Classroom in there, and instantly let me know that she was not in the school domain account, that she was in a personal account. And that brings me to another.
Before you move, Jen,
yep.
Do you want us also, I want to mention that you can customize the waffle as well. So if Jen doesn't want Classroom in the second row, she can click on Classroom and actually drag and move it wherever she wants based on the hierarchy of the things that she does. So I know a lot of people don't know that they can actually customize that as well.
Right, and so that's what I was just showing a little bit of that so that you can customize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's fine.
My apologies.
That's okay. I know he clicked away and he was on something else.
I did. I was tweeting away. My apologies.
That's okay. They're like, Craig, were you on here with her? No problem. So I love you, Craig. So the next thing that it does bring me to, besides customizing the waffle, which we did, is that now you can, as an administrator, there are new options in Classroom. So I was going to show Team Drive, but I think I'm going to come back to Classroom first and show some options that you can do. And actually, I have that in my training account as well, because with Classroom now, it used to be before that students had to be in your Google Classroom, they had to either be in your domain or a domain you whitelisted. But there's often times where you have students who are, for instance, taking virtual courses, and one of your teachers is teaching one of those virtual courses, or they are part of a different domain. They just take a specific class with you, and you don't want to whitelist the entire just for the one student. There's just many different reasons why you might want to have other users working within Classroom. So now, within Classroom for administrators, and I got to come down to find, first of all, some of this is the same, that you can decide who can create classes. But if I come down to, here we go, to class membership, you can decide who to allow to join a class. So for instance, I can allow any user to join a class, and this is my Google training domain. So for this one, I have any user. Normally it starts out with the top one, which is users in your domain only. Then it goes to whitelisted domains, such as a school who has multiple districts that feed into it, especially if you have a regional VOTEC or technical center. Then there's this one. I like this one because it's any G Suite user. Remember G Suite being G Suite for education. So it's not personal accounts. This is for anyone who is, like, for instance, another school district and they're working cooperatively on something with your school district. You can allow them to join the class. They cannot see contact information, meaning they can't see your students in their email contacts. They cannot see other info. They can just join the class that they've been accepted to be part of and see who's in the class, and they can share things with who's in the class, but they cannot see contact information, email. They cannot connect to any of that. They can just be allowed to join a class. So that's a new feature that for domain admins that I wanted to share about Google Classroom. In fact, I ran into this recently with a school who's a provider working for students who come in from other schools, and this worked perfectly for them because they now can have those students as part of their Google Classrooms, where before they really struggled with this piece, and that opened the door for them to allow students to join their Google Classrooms. So I did want to share that piece right there. Okay. Cool. Let's see. What am I missing, Craig, now that we went off there?
I think you've hit upon all the updates of Classroom. I was looking at our notes. I think you've hit upon each of those things.
Okay, so the only other thing I'm going to mention is notifications, because in the past it was on or off, and now you can customize what notifications you want. And that has been there for a little bit, but if you hadn't noticed that before, you can actually customize the type of email notifications. That's one I get quite often. So
the one thing I do wish, and correct me if I'm wrong in my thinking, that while you are able to customize, you can't customize by class.
No, that is something I want to.
Yeah, so I wish that was a feature.
Watching, come over here to the little question gear and choose send feedback.
That's right.
And I'll put in there to customize notifications
based on a class, because it makes sense. You might teach a 9th grade class and you want pretty much all notifications on, or yes, you also teach a senior class and you know what, I only want to know when they resubmit something. So there are reasons by which you would want that, and hopefully that'll come out by the time next summer comes around. But I do think that that's a feature that it's an all or nothing in terms of your classes.
I agree. So put that in that, send that feedback, because I
will.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so actually I'm going to share my screen again because I think the next one is Team Drive that I was going to talk a little bit about, and I forgot again. Okay. Oh. Okay. So let me go to make sure I'm on the right account here when I do this. Oh, good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Team Drive. Now, a couple things to know about Team Drive. At the admin level for Team Drive, if you are a Google admin, you can decide, and I'm going to come right here, what access to give to your staff about Team Drive. And I know, Craig, you've been working over at Bedford using Team Drive a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk a little bit, but then if you can talk about your experiences with working with it. So I don't want to click that one. So managing Team Drive, some of the things that you can do as the Google admin, you can decide who can create Team Drives. And that's important to me because Team Drive just acts, and I'm going to show you in a minute, Team Drive acts a little differently in its behavior than a regular Google Drive folder. If your staff has worked with Google Drive folders for a while and they're ready for that next step, absolutely introduce Team Drive. And I would do it and Craig will talk about this a little more because they've been doing it for a while over there with the staff first. So the group over here, we are just newer to working with Google Drive folders in general. So we're very slowly rolling out access to Team Drive to the staff just to make sure they're comfortable with understanding how Google Drive folders, general folders work before moving on to explaining how Team Drive folders work. So, and I'm trying to get my screen not to stop jumping so I can bring this up. Okay, so you can decide for Team Drive to allow, here we go, you can decide to prevent users from creating Team Drive, and you can do it by OU. So even though you see right here, prevent users in Londonderry from creating, well, no, we have groups of users that are allowed to create Team Drive, and that's going to expand as we roll out more training. So let me show to you how Team Drives are different, and then you can get an idea on how to best plan out rolling it out in your district. So first of all, you'll notice that when you have Team Drive turned on, over here on the left, this is my Google Drive, and here's my Team Drive. And under that, I have different Team Drives that we've created for different levels. Some are district-wide, some are just for certain groups. And this is one that Gail and I use, which is the tech integration programs, folders, files, and so forth. So the first thing is when you're working with Team Drive, things that you create, such as folders underneath Team Drive, and because Craig, you've worked with it a little bit longer and rolling it out more to your staff, let me know if you find workarounds for any of this. But the first thing is when I right-click on a folder, notice the two things that are grayed out. It's not quite the same where I can take a folder within a folder and right-click and share that folder out or get the shareable link. So with a folder in my drive, my regular Google Drive, I can right-click on a folder and I can get a shareable link and share out links to people to go to my Google Drive without having to know their email address. I can give them that link and they can see what's in the folder if I give view rights. Not quite the same with Team Drive. So here I have subfolders to this Team Drive called Tech Integration. And if you right-click on it, you'll notice I can't get that shareable link. And from here, I can't get to share this folder out to someone new. However, at the top level, the Team Drive, I can come up here and I can add members here. And although Gail is already on here, I'm going to add Karen on here. And I can decide what access to give. Here's the different levels of access. Send her a message or not. And I can come back here and I can manage the members right from here. I don't have to go into that menu again. I can click and manage the members and I can see who has access and I can change out that access. Fine. I can also come up here and I can change out their access and so forth. So, okay, that's great. But I can't right-click on a folder underneath here to share out that folder. So say I wanted to share out just this folder with certain teachers or certain people who do tech integration training alongside of us. I can't do it like that. And I can't give them the link to it. However, individual files, such as this one right here, I can right-click on an individual file within the Team Drive or within a subfolder, and I can share out a specific file to someone. And I even can, if I go to who has access, I can actually turn on the link sharing here as well and share out the link to that file. So you can share out individual files to people who are not in the Team Drive, and you can share out the link to individual files, but you cannot share out links to folders. The other item I've run into. So I'm going to go into, let's see, this one right here. So the other day I was trying to do something I've done a million times inside of a document, and I'm going to add something here. I need to either email or print. And in the past, I've always been able to go to File and Email as Attachment. I can't do it. It's grayed out. I've been able to email the collaborators to say, hey, this is something that I've changed and updated. Can you have a look at it? Notice that's grayed out as well. So those are two items that have changed out a little bit. If you work with a document with Team Drive, you know, there's some things that I love about it. One is I don't have to worry anymore about who owns a document. So the idea behind Team Drive was that anything you put inside of a Team Drive is not owned by myself. I'm an editor, but I'm not the owner anymore. So that way, if I leave or something changes, those resources stay with the group. And that's awesome. And I love that because especially if you're doing things that are department-wide or district-wide, those resources stay with the district, the department, that curriculum stays behind. And we don't have to say, I wonder which file she shared out to whom. Did she share out this file? Maybe she shared out that file. It doesn't, because inside of a Team Drive, I'm just an editor on there. I still have access to it, but I'm an editor. But know that some of the ways that you work or navigate within a file within Team Drive will change. And one of them right here is where you go to File. I can no longer email as an attachment, which is what I was trying to do. So this really nice LMS could print it for me because I didn't have access to print it. And I couldn't email the collaborators to let them know, hey, I've done some updates. I had to email them directly. And so little things like that are a little different. So when you're working within files, I had where my administrators had created, obviously, an admin Team Drive. And what they were a little frustrated with is that they could not right-click and share out a folder to the group that they wanted just to be able to see. They didn't want them all in as in the Team Drive itself, just one folder they wanted to give access, and they couldn't do that. So, and even though I did explain the workaround is that you can select several files and you can then hit share and you can share it to them that way. Just be aware that that is one difference or a couple of differences anyways with files and how they behave when they're in Team Drive versus when they're in a regular Google Drive folder. I was going to show something else while I was in a document, but Craig, is there something you want to add since you've been working with Team Drives a little bit longer, rolled out into the district?
I just think that to reiterate, the whole Team Drive concept is you have a team and you want to make sure that no one owns that file in that team. You want the drive to actually own those files. You want to use Team Drive. And one thing that we've kind of started to explore around is we have a, high school Team Drive. We call it VHS Staff Info. And so the administrators have full access to add the content to that Team Drive. And then we have our staff, where all staff are part of a particular email address and have shared that with view-only access. And so staff can't edit, staff can't move the files. It's just a one-stop shop to find all the important documents that people need to know and be able to find rather than having to worry about, that email was sent in September, so where is that now? Or what was the name of that file? We've explored that a little bit this year. I'm curious to see where that goes and if we continue to use this particular type of model. But mostly I think different subgroups of people, staff members are, creating Team Drives where maybe 3 or 4 people also need access and have the ability to participate. The one other thing that I would be mindful of is people who have full access to a Team Drive, they have the ability to move files out of the Team Drive. So that possibly could be an issue if someone does it by accident and now everybody else no longer has access to that file. So that's one thing to be mindful of is when you give people full access to a particular drive, that even though they didn't create the initial file, let's say Jen and I shared a Team Drive and she accidentally moved a file that I had created, and accidentally drags it out, I no longer will have access to it.
Right. And those are the exact reasons that I do caution when you're rolling out Team Drive. Make sure that I have the screen clicked over here again. There we go. When you're rolling out to Team Drive, that you are aware of those differences, because the behavior is different than a regular Google Drive folder. And as he said, yes, I love that you can now have math department curriculum Team Drive. So everyone puts the curriculum in there. But if not everyone in the group who has full access and understands its behavior, they can wipe out the curriculum inadvertently. So accidentally, inadvertently, it just can happen. So it's really important that whoever, when you roll it out, you do so in a thoughtful manner so that those who have full access to it understand the behavior behind it and how it works, because it's different than a regular Google Drive folder. So I love the idea behind it. I love that for instance, when we've had all staff Drive folders, I used to create, and I still do, a Google admin account or resource account and made it the owner, because if so-and-so leave, they took all the curriculum with them, especially if we didn't think to transfer their files, and we'd have to go through what files did they share with whom, what needs to stay behind, that curriculum could disappear. So that part I love, that no one is the owner anymore. We're all editors, so that department-wide, school-wide, district-wide resource stays with the district. But to understand those that you roll it out to, understand how the behavior is different than regular Google Drive. Okay, so the other thing that is on my plate before we switch it over to Craig is I was going to talk just very quick, couple of changes inside of a Google Drive document. Right here, we used to have see revision history, and now it's changed to version history. It's pretty interesting. So I'm going to show you how it looks compared to before. Before, you would just hit see revision history, and you would see the document over here. And underneath each instance, I can't speak anymore, you would see the word restore this version. Well, now when you click on one, you watch it go back in time. And when you get to the one that you want, so I'm going to come back here and then come back here, you actually can come up here to restore the version at the very top. You can also do this little slider over here. And the reason why there's nothing there is because of an option I haven't showed you yet, which is to name versions. And right here, I filtered to only show the name versions, but I didn't name anything. So I'm going to slide it back. And so everything comes back again. And I'm going to come back over here. And that option is now the new place underneath, which says name the current version. So this version right here, I can actually create a name to this version for training. You don't have to make the name quite as long as I did, but you can actually name the different versions. So I thought that was kind of and I came in here the other day and I went, oh, revision history has changed, because I was telling someone, look for revision history, and they're like, Jen, I don't see it. Oh, you don't see it because it's not there anymore. So version history, revision history is now version history, where you can actually name specific versions, and then you can come back. And how's that helpful? Oh, I'll give you a wonderful example. I had a big database that was being created in a Google spreadsheet where people filled out the form. And we have this point where it was where they would sort the data by a specific column header, and then they would put it back again. So they could name that sorted by, we'll say guidance counselor, whatever it is. And that way they would, and then the changes after that, they would know, okay, where's the part where we sorted it by guidance counselor? Oh, it was right here. It's perfect when you're doing anything, especially on a spreadsheet where you've done something to the data. You can name that version to remind yourself what you did with that change, that version. So that's just one example. Craig, is there anything other that you've used this for that you've noticed that's been great working with the little change here on version history?
No, to be honest. No. Can you tell that I'm not really looking at student work lately or anything like that? No, to be honest, I haven't used that yet this year.
And I literally, like I said, I stumbled into it when someone said, Jen, I don't see revision history. I went, oh, that's because it's not there. And that's when I ran. And I love this piece because I actually ran into that with the database where they were making the changes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would have been so helpful last year. But anyway, so that's one little change that I've noticed, is that revision history now has version history where you can name the version, and just the layout on how you can restore it is just changed a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here to our agenda because I believe I now hand it off to Craig, and he's going to talk about being internet awesome. And
Sure.
Craig, I know it's going to be awesome, so I'm going to stop my screen sharing and switch it over to Craig. There we go. Go ahead, Craig.
See my screen? Do you see my screen? We're good?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I don't know. It was some point over the summer, or it might have been end of June. Google came out with what they're calling Be Internet Awesome. So you can just do a quick Google search, Be Internet Awesome, or the actual link is beinternetawesome.withgoogle.com. And you know, I think in our school and many schools, conversations need to be had with students just about how to be a good digital person, human, and you know, life exists both in the present, you know, face to face. It also exists online, and so I think Google's recognizing that they need to help support teachers, students, parents, whatever it might be, in terms of how to help people be internet awesome. And so on this particular page, so there is a video that I'm not going to play. And down here, they have what they're calling the fundamentals, the internet code of awesome. And so, you know, they say, you know, share with care, don't fall for fake, secure your secrets, it's cool to be kind, when in doubt, talk about it. So those are their key topics, I guess you can call it. And so if you keep scrolling down, there's some different resources that you can actually use with students. So instead of like creating your own curriculum, or, you know, I know some people will use, oh, what is it? Jen, what's that popular website? Green backgrounds. Oh, geez. It'll come to me. Instead of using a canned curriculum that's already been created on digital citizenship, Google also has something similar, but it's, you know,
Common Sense Media?
thank you, that's it, Common Sense Media. Google's also trying to help. And so I went ahead and clicked on their actual curriculum guide. And just to give you an idea of something that's there, so in the Share with Care section, they have an actual activity that you can play, profile guessing game. And so they give you some little instructions, but basically they have 3 different individuals, and based on what they are searching, based on what they're saying online, you know, try to guess who these people are, and what they like, what they dislike, what they care about. And so it's kind of an interesting little, like, can you figure out what type of person this person is based on interests and things that they're talking about, etc. I went and preloaded another page, same document, and this one was, you know, relating to it's cool to be kind and how to be an upstander. But one, I'm trying to find out the activity. What's this one? But say it nicely. So, oh yes, so they actually had some comments that people might have left, or examples of things that people leave in any platforms, social media platform. And, you know, how can you take these comments and respond in a way that would make the conversation more positive? So taking something that might have been, you know, down a negative track and make it be a little more positive. Like, everyone wear purple tomorrow, but don't tell Lily. Poor Lily, right? So how can you write that to be a bit more positive? So I give Google some credit here, trying to, you know, they're a powerhouse in terms of helping people produce and be online and be connected. And, you know, this is their attempt into trying to help support. So that's, again, called Be Internet Awesome. Jen, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it or not. I've only quickly glanced at it. But I know it's something that, you know, I'm gonna take a look at and see if there's something that I can pull here and there to maybe use in an advisory activity at the high school.
Right. I don't know. A little bit too, just to, but and also to share with some of the teachers and curriculum coordinators in the schools here on, because we're looking at digital citizenship and different ways to kind of, incorporate that into the curriculum. And I saw this come out and I went, oh, awesome. So awesome, internet awesome. And I just kind of looked it over before I shared it.
Sure. Okay, so that's that piece. Next, I'm going to switch into YouTube. Now, this is I'm going to say a little bummer news. And actually, YouTube changed its look, and it's kind of going along more of like the look of Classroom, I feel. But anyways, they've changed their look. And if I actually go to Creator Studio, so this is the behind the scenes of a YouTube channel. This is my school YouTube channel that I use to support teachers and students. And but I've always been able to, and in past we've had students. We are a school, I should say, we are a school, one-to-one school with Chromebooks, and so we used YouTube's editor in order to help students take different video clips that they've recorded, whether it was on their mobile device or whether it was on their Chromebook, and actually use the YouTube editor to put everything together and then to publish. But if I actually go into the Creator Studio piece, under the Create, and go to Video Editor, you'll notice that there's this message right up at the top, big bummer news that this is going away. Oh, I don't know, what time is it? 5 o'clock? So in 7 hours from now, I will no longer have access to this actual section. So I read a little blog post there indicating, I think they said at the time, I hope this is what I remember correctly, that only 7% of all YouTube users actually use the YouTube editor. And it's crazy to think because I used it all the time and I encourage my own students here at the high school to use it. So little bummer news.
I did too, Craig. We actually did a segment on it last year, didn't we? Or was it the year before? Because
we did.
Yeah, we used it. I used it a lot, and I used it a lot with my teachers, and I was so sad because I was like, no, I love this.
Yep. So, as a result, we're now having to look at solutions such as WeVideo and other things to help do what we've been able to do in the past. So that is a bit of a bummer news there. Anything else you wanted to add with that, Jen?
No, I was really sad. Now I'm here because there was limited access for students with YouTube, and but now that's changing. It wasn't, but I was so sad because that is something that I used. And in fact, when you and I first started doing our YouTube live events and changed our own channel, remember the first thing I had to do was edit one of the videos in YouTube Editor instantly. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to edit that. So I used crazy. I did a whole series of workshops on this and at MassQ and others because it's so, not as marketed. It's under marketed compared to the others. And Sally, because of that, as a result, it's going away. And it's just such a great free tool. WeVideo's nice, but there's a limit to the free version. There's those limitations, and that's sadly, where because I would say to people, I know WeVideo can only do 5 minutes of production time. Well, guess what? YouTube Editor, you can go on and on and on. So I am sad to see this go. I'm hoping something new comes up, though.
All right. So the next thing that I'm going to share, because I want to be mindful of time, is Google Earth. And so I believe this came out before the summer. So this is a little stretch. This isn't something that came over the summer. I know the title was Google Updates from the Summer or Census Summer or whatever we called it. But Google Earth now exists on the actual Chrome browser. So this is great news for districts that are using Chromebooks. Whereas before, I want to say it was around, I don't know, April time. I don't know if that's correct or not, but the web version of Google Earth came out, and before then you always had to download you had to download a file, and it was just something that did not work with Chromebooks. And so since I think because a lot of school districts were moving in that direction, Google recognized, hey, we have this really cool thing, we need to make sure that people can access it on actual Chromebooks. So all I did was just, I believe, if I redo this, earth.google.com will bring you right to this particular page. And then you go ahead and click on this Launch Google Earth. So we're actually going to be spending, Jen had mentioned it earlier, that we already have our guest speaker for October, and his name's Eric, and he is going to actually help talk us through how you can take Google Lit trips that have been around for a while and how you can actually take a book such as Kite Runner and actually integrate it with Google Earth and have students experience the book through Google Earth to supplement their reading as they are learning about the book. And so we're going to spend more time with Eric in October, so I don't want to go through all of the details, but at least I just wanted to let you know that Google Earth exists on the Chrome browser, if you didn't already know that. So I believe, Jen, that is all I had to share.
Okay, I will add some of the excursions they have set up there. Have you gone into, go through the satellite, the space station, sorry, I couldn't think, and tour through. They have some ready-to-go excursions where you can walk through the space station and everything. Have you done any of those?
I've seen a couple of them, but I actually haven't physically, I haven't experienced it myself. I've heard people talk about it, but
okay, I'll admit I'm a total geek because I went all throughout the space station and checked out every inch of it. Yes, I know. But for those of you using Chromebooks, that was a question that I got. They said, you know, Jen, I want to do Google Earth with Chrome. And I said, guess what? You absolutely can now. And there's some very cool excursions that you can go and check out that are out of the box set to go. And that was one of the first ones that I went to. So I will admit that and show my nerdy side.
Cool.
Okay, yes, so let me see. Let me see if we had anything else besides.
I think we got it all.
Yep, so.
I think it's just a matter of we're into the, let's look at what's in the future.
Okay, so I'll share my screen and mention, of course, every year. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to show it, but I can. So let me bring up, hopefully I can bring it up here. Here we go. Krista McAuliffe, of course, we mention this every year. And this year, we have Steve Dembo and Adam Bello, who are just an amazing duo working together. And they just play off each other so well. And they're going to kind of work together this year. So in the past, we've had keynotes were very separate at Krista, but this year we have a duo working together, kind of integrating their keynotes and bringing them together. As you can see on Thursday, they actually keynote together. So that's going to be, they're just amazing with their resources, but also their energy. So if you haven't gone to nhcmtc.org and registered for the Krista event, absolutely check it out. I'm so excited to have Adam come and work with us this year. And of course, besides Krista, always check out NIST has an event. Don't they have one coming up right now, Craig?
Yes, and we actually got an email about it while you were doing a little classroom intro. So yes, I'm glad you are mentioning that. It's the what is it?
I'm trying to find it. It'll come up. The TT SIG, is that it?
No, well, they have the Night of Networking, an annual meeting, which is on October 3rd.
Oh, got it.
So that's coming up. But then you're also talking about another event that they're hosting.
Yes, so I have it up here. I went to PD and I'm to the upcoming events. So here's what's upcoming in the state of New Hampshire for NIST, and they always have many different events going on. The other one that I do want to mention, and I'm going to blank out, so Craig, you'll have to tell me, what is the link again for the Google Apps admin meeting?
Oh,
fnh.org. I always forget.
To be honest, I don't know because I don't attend those meetings.
Okay. So let me see if I can find it here. So there's a group for Google Admin that meet monthly, and those will be coming up very soon. And I was trying to see if I could find it here. Google Apps, no, I don't see it, but there is the New Hampshire CTO Council, and this is a group that if you're an IT leader, director, coordinator, this is a group to check into as well. And I will find out that information. I'm blanking out. I feel so bad on the Google Apps admin that meets in Bedford, and they should be starting up very soon, correct?
Yeah, I was trying to see it in my calendar when my counterpart.
It was reminding me that was on Wednesday mornings. I do remember that, but for some reason right now I'm just blanking out.
So
And I know
the first meeting is going to be on October 4th. It's a Wednesday.
October 4th. Okay. So October 4th will be the first, and they're in Bedford. It's for any Google admin or is trying to learn. Like, it could be technician, tech integrator, anyone who's learning more about the administrator side of Google Apps inside of your district. So that's another good one to connect to. Okay. I think we've hit everything now, Craig. What do you think?
I think we did all right. And, I think it's, it's nice to be back, nice to be back in the swing of things. And I know we're all always busy, and I know all of you are busy as well, but I think it's nice to make a point to always connect at least once a month and get together and just share best practices, great tips, tricks, all of that. And yeah, hey, we're doing it
again. I have one that we did not mention, and I'm going to share my screen very quickly because this is kind of important. So one thing that I did not mention, and let me just bring it up and then I'll share my screen.
Okay.
See if I can.
So while you're doing that, I'll just let everybody know the date of our next YouTube Live conversation or chat is going to be on Wednesday, 4 p.m. on October 18th. So our schedule always happens that we get together at 4 o'clock Eastern Time on the third Wednesday of each month. And what's great about that is, at least for 3 years now, we've not had to worry about any vacations getting in the way there. So third Wednesday of every month, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And again, the next one's going to be on October 18th. Okay,
so I did want to mention that, and I will share my screen and then we can stop right there, that for those of you who are wondering where this information is or how you can follow along with us, we do have a Google Plus community that you can follow along. And some reason, whenever I bring it up, here we go. So we do have a Google Plus community. There are two of them. One, this is the newer one, but we have the our original one, which hopefully will come up for me. I know it's because it's GEG-NH, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where, so the first one that you're on, the NHGEG page, that's where that's where all our videos will show up. And actually, Jen, if you go to communities, under the communities tab, there it is. If you search GEG New Hampshire, and feel free to go in and join. I noticed a couple people have gone in and added some questions, and just a great space for us to connect. And we'd love more and more people to go in to share resources, because this is how we get better, by asking questions and supporting one another.
So here's our Google Plus community, GEG New Hampshire. You'll see the other one, it actually connects back to this one. The other one, all it is where we created our shared YouTube channel. So this is our YouTube channel, NHGEG. That is our shared YouTube channel that we use to for all of our videos, our past live events are all up here, where we've interviewed makers of apps such as GMath and the ladies from HyperDocs. So that is where that other Google Plus page, if you see that, it actually connects back to our main one. It's just where we were able to create our Google YouTube channel for the GEG videos and our live events. So I did want to let others know to please join. It doesn't matter what state you're from, follow along, share, start discussions. This is where you can discuss, share resources. You don't have to be one of us as the co-host to start a discussion or want to share materials. Please come join in, connect with us. We'd love to have you. And as Craig mentioned, we have an event coming up and we'd love to have you join in. Thank you, everyone. It's been a great, I think, first start back to the year. And I want to thank Craig, as always, for being my co-host, and my silent partner over here, Gail, who's been helping out. And she reminded me of some things I did forget from Google Classroom, is that you can now sort your students' names by last name, first name, or first name, last name. I forgot about the additional sort feature, and she reminded me of that.
Way to go, Gail. Way to go.
I'm like, oh, I knew there'd be something I'd forget. So thank you, everyone, for joining in, and for my co-host, and everyone have a great night.
See you next month.